button. Well, hi there and welcome to the MPI Global Leadership Training video series. This is episode Chapter Education. My name is Judy Holler and I get to be your moderator today, and I am also a proud member of the MPI Chicago chapter. So you're probably wondering who these three lovely ladies are, and I'm going to get to that in just a momento. But before we begin and I introduce these ladies, I want to say to you, congratulations on being a leader. I'm telling you, you've just made a really great choice, and it's one that can open incredible doors, but it's all how you work it and what you put back into it. So you've made a great choice, and we're here today to set you up for success in chapter education. So I cannot do that alone. No, I am not the expert here. I've got three experts with me and three distinguished panelists who I'd love to introduce right now. First off, I'd start with Judy Webster, who is a chapter business manager for MPI Global. Hi, Judy Webster.
Hello, chapter leaders.
Two Judys on the call today.
Yep.
We've also got VP of Education from the Indiana chapter, Miss Jamie Flemington. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, everyone.
I love it. And last but surely not least, VP of Education for the Rocky Mountain chapter, Miss Stacy Cisco. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, nice to see everybody.
I love it. Well, welcome, ladies, and welcome to you, and thank you for being here to watch this video. We're really excited to get started, and I want to start by really going through the overview of the three key things we're going to talk about today. But before I do that, I want to say that what's so great about this video is that it's online, and that means it's on demand. So this is here for you when you need it. So I'd encourage you to take notes. I'd encourage you to make a list of questions if you have any, and keep them for your chapter business manager, or ask your chapter leaders within your particular chapter to clarify or summarize anything you might be lost on. But guess what? This is an online video, so you can come back to this anytime, all day long if you want. You can put it on repeat because I know it's going to be that exciting. But really, the point here is that it's for you as a tool and as a resource to really rock your chapter's education. So pass it on, learn from it, and go at your own pace. So the three key things we're going to talk about today are, first and foremost, we want to really highlight the chapter education department and review all the different team responsibilities to get you on the same page. Second, we want to expand your knowledge of how to determine, deliver, and evaluate the education needs for your chapter. And then last but not least, we want to take a look and examine the tools and the resources that are there for you. So, got a lot to cover, and I can't wait to get started. So I think let's first turn it over to Miss Judy Webster, and I'd love to hear from you, Judy. What does success look like for the chapter education department?
Okay. I believe chapters can achieve success in their education departments by really concentrating on three areas. The first of these areas is chapter demographics. Understanding the culture of your own chapter, such things as planner versus supplier ratio, the type of education content that they're seeking, whether personal or for their job, developing their career. Also understanding the makeup of the chapter. Is it young professionals? Are there seasoned members? Who is your audience? Understanding the chapter's culture as far as the members. Do they like events out of habit, same day, same time, every month? Or is this a chapter who is willing and open to experiment with new venues and make an event an experience? All of these things play a part in making up chapter demographics, and understanding them will assist you before creating an education plan and formalizing that plan. Number two, for success, ensuring that everyone in your department, from the VP and the directors to the committee chairs, understand the budget processes, and knowing that each person in this education department is fiscally responsible for the education and whether you have the money, the funds to do the programs that you really need to do. And thirdly, holding each other accountable to our respective roles and responsibilities. I think if you can concentrate on those three areas of success, demographics, the education department budget, and being accountable, you will have nothing but a successful year.
Very well said, Judy. Thanks so much for summarizing that. And while we're on the subject of responsibility, Stacy, I'd love to toss the mic to you a little bit here and find out what responsibilities does the team have towards the chapter to really ensure success.
Absolutely. So keep in mind that the team isn't just the VP of Education and the directors that fall below it. It's also the committee chairs, the co-chairs, and all of your committee members. So it's important that the whole team has this understanding. And as a team, you need to develop the education plans, the budgets. Global is asking for an 18-month calendar, which seems like a really long time out there, but it really does help you hold true to your plans and to your chapter's goals and vision. You don't have to have exacts and you don't have to have details, but just to know that, okay, our chapter wants to have a leadership speaker. Our chapter wants to have somebody who comes in and talks about the new apps. Just to know that that's what you're looking for 18 months down the road, it really helps you solidify your path. And to coordinate with the other teams. You know, you don't want to be doing this in a silo. I know all of the chapters talk about silos and working in a silo. And as the education team, you really can't work in a silo because you need input from every other team member. Like Judy said, it's really important to share the budget. It may be overwhelming and people don't get it, but you need to let them know what money they have to spend going into it. Because if they just think that they can spend willy-nilly, that just causes trouble as you're at your board meetings and doing your annual retreats and trying to rein your budget in. So any changes that have to occur, make sure that you are approving those changes. If it's for $10, if it's for $1,000, just make sure that the budget is approved before you spend it. Global requires that you have six educational programs as part of the metrics, and that's great, and a lot of people do 6. We do more than 6 in the Rocky Mountain chapter, which seems to be a lot, but it's just what our members ask for. Our members want more education than just those 6. So really going back to your needs assessment and talking to your members and understanding what they're looking for is very important. And then it's just a project management as a team. Don't think that just because one person is handling the February program that you don't need to be involved. It's always good for people to stay involved and informed, because if something happens, if somebody needs to wave that white flag, something has come up at work, a family member has gotten sick. It's just really important that the whole team knows what's going on at the same time.
Awesome. Really good stuff there, Stacy, and a lot of good information. And I kept hearing the theme of team. And, you know, we've really got to be working together to push the needle forward as a chapter. And education is so important. So I loved all that advice and wisdom from you. So well done. And so Judy, tossing it over to you. So then how does the team work together to determine the education programs for their chapter members?
Well, you do this through, as we mentioned previously, a chapter needs assessment before formalizing a plan. This assessment should be conducted with not only the education department, the communications department, and the membership department. They're all interdependent on each other, and they will assist the education department in getting the results that they need and want in order to plan their education. Our panelists are going to talk about questions and things to consider when planning this needs assessment.
Great. So some specific things that you want to take a look at and some focal points for you and your team to sit down and talk about are the purpose of your programs. What are you trying to accomplish out of this? One major thing about surveying your members is that if you're going to take a poll, if you're going to take a survey and get information, it's really important to tell them what that feedback was and what you're going to do with it. you know as well as I do that we get hit with tons of surveys all the time, and if they don't feel like their opinion's being actually used, then the chances that they're going to give you an opinion next time are going to go down. So also talk to your team about what the ideal response rate is, what kind of percentage of your membership that you're looking to actually have respond in order to make sure that it's valuable information for you. And then how do you get that response rate? What's the marketing plan in this needs assessment? How do you reach your members and tell them how important it is to get this information back? Some topics to really nail down when you're doing the survey is what are your demographics? What are some program topics that your membership is interested in? What are their meeting preferences? Is it in the afternoon? Is it in the morning? Do they need a mix? Do they need to do only evening because they can't get away from the office? So find out what their meeting preferences are there. And then leave some open-ended questions so that they have an ability to actually put in any comments that you might not have thought about. And also make sure that you're trying to segment your marketing and your surveys as much as possible, that you're addressing both planners and suppliers, faculty, students, association planners versus corporate, and really getting feedback from all of your demographics and understanding them individually as well. Stacey?
And then also, consider today's realities, who we are and where we work. We're not the same people. We're not the same organization that we were 10 years ago and even 5 years ago. Things have changed. Technologies have changed. People have changed. More and more people have the virtual offices and wireless technologies. So make sure that you utilize those resources to get to your members. A lot of people have transient lifestyles, which you have to, make sure that you are appealing to, not just the tried and true planner. It's the day of the planner has really changed. Work-life balance. That's something that's tossed out a lot, and as volunteer leaders, we take on a lot more from just our work standpoint, but we also have home life, so you have to fit that in, and you have to make it work with your members for them to really respect what you're giving to them. If you want them to respect the chapter, then you have to turn around and respect them as well. If people ask for more breakfast meetings, just because you've always done lunch meetings in the past doesn't mean that you can't try breakfast meetings. You have to make an effort to respond to what your members are asking you for.
That's great. Thanks so much, Stacey. And really, at the end of the day, we're here for our members. It is all about our members and our membership. We are a membership-based association, so we have to be listening to our biggest customer and our biggest client, which is our membership base. So I love the way you buttoned that up. Okay, so Jamie, now say you've done your due diligence, right? And you've conducted a chapter needs assessment, and you're reviewing the results because you're a rock star. And where do you start? How do you begin to develop an overall membership, education plan for the membership?
Sure. Well, I think the big thing is project management is a buzzword that we've all been hearing for years now, but really having a strategy and the timelines and everything in place on what your entire year looks like and when you need to have information out. And then conducting regular committee meetings so that your entire committee is feeling involved and informed on what all is going on, and that they get to have their input and have their stake in it as well. And also the tools and procedures for your committees. They can't do their job unless you give them all the information, the tools. The Indiana chapter created actually a planner binder that we get to pass along to each planner. So they have all the checklists, the contact lists, and everything in there. So that's been really helpful. And then finally, I think that coordinating communications between all departments. If your chapter doesn't know about what you're doing, then all the efforts to get the best speaker in possible and do the most unique platform that you can isn't going to pay off because your members don't know that it's available for them. So just coordinating communications between all of the departments. Education really is one of those that touches every single piece of our organization. So.
Great. Stacey, do you want to add anything?
Sure. Yeah. Taking it beyond that to the delivery to the chapter members. there's so much talk about encouraging participation from our members and really getting people more involved. And so in order to do that, the delivery methods do have to change. As leaders for the chapter, we expect so much from Global. Why shouldn't our members expect so much from us? So, we need to not only ask the questions of Global, but we need to be able to answer the questions of our members. So a couple of ways to do that is out-of-the-box venues. Do still utilize your hotel partners, but don't shut down a venue because nobody's ever gone there before. No, you don't think it's the right venue for a meeting. Our April meeting is actually at a bowling alley. Who would have thought that you could have gone to a bowling alley for your meeting? But it works with our topic. Our topic is AV, and the bowling alley is just such high energy, and it has such different uses of AV and the technology there that it was just a perfect fit. Different seating and timing. Jamie mentioned it before too. In January, instead of doing our traditional luncheon program, we did a late afternoon program, and it was a relaxation session. So it was totally different. We encouraged people to bring their yoga mats, their blankets, and they got comfortable, and we didn't have seating for everybody. People were on the floor. It was very different, but people enjoyed it. The members really enjoyed it and saw what we were trying to do. So don't be afraid. If you have a question in your mind, and you're like, oh, they like this, still go for it. Don't hold back just because people won't like it, because change is hard. Change really is hard, but once you start making those changes, your members are going to appreciate the effort. Webinars and hybrid meetings and video meetings like we're doing here, it's becoming easier. It's becoming easier to do it. It's becoming easier to offer it. So don't hesitate. You've got to start doing that. And then another successful, program is expert panels. It doesn't just have to be the talking head. It's, bring in several people that can play off of each other's strengths, weaknesses, and can really get the members to think and to drive interest and to give them a different outlook on things.
So important, so important. So Jamie, where would people find speakers? Do you have any tips there on how to get the chapters to find good speakers?
Absolutely. And coming from somebody who's been involved with education for 7 years now, I believe, actually before the chapter content database, can I just say how much of an awesome resource that is? Having that list of speakers that are topics that are relevant to our members and what they want to hear about is a great starting place. There's some really good information in there and good peer-to-peer reviews. One thing about that, make sure that as the VP of Education or directors, that you guys are actually going back in and reviewing your speakers so that you're sharing that information. Another one would be the National Speakers Association is always a great speaker reference for everyone. Past conference speakers, go back to other MPI global events, go back to what your chapter did, talk to other people or other education people in other chapters and find out what they did. Really the best way is those referrals mouth to mouth on, who's been great live in person. One thing that we did, we created a task force. So we took in our senior level members, people who've been around the industry for quite a while, who've gone to conferences with MPI Global as well as outside of our MPI to kind of get a fresh perspective on things. And that's turned out very well. And then there's the MPI VP of Education Facebook page that we created. Make sure you find us there. And so that way you can kind of have a center for finding other fellow education people.
Awesome. That sounds really good. So Stacy, what would you say, how important are evaluations when you're all done with it?
Evaluations are very important. Like Jamie mentioned, to share the feedback with other chapter leaders so that they know that this speaker is phenomenal or this speaker is so-so. It really just helps when you're booking a speaker sight unseen and you don't have that. A lot of people don't have that opportunity to go and see a speaker before they book them. So if other chapters have booked them and have have used them and reviewed them, then it just makes your job that much easier and really does say, okay, I am picking the right speaker for my group. The one thing I would have to say is that your evaluations at the end of your programs are very important. Look at those every year. See if you make sure you're asking the right questions of your members, and that you're doing it in the right platform. If the email is not working, you're not getting the response that you need, maybe it's time to change it up. Use an app, use hard copy, go back to hard copy again. There's really nothing wrong with going back and trying something again if it's going to give you the results that you need and that you need and that you want.
That's great. Well pointed advice. So Jamie, where can a chapter leader for education find additional resources? Where can they get even more info on program development?
Sure. I think your number one go-to is always your chapter business manager. Thank you, Judy Webster, and the rest of them. They're really a great resource for everyone. If you get stuck or if you want to find out who your connection is within another chapter, they're really your go-to to find those unanswered questions when your leadership doesn't know. The chapter leader resource page on Global's website is also another great site for different best practices, toolkits, ideas, information, that sort of thing. It also houses the chapter content database, so you can find all your speaker information there, as well like the best practices, as I said. Your other leaders within your chapter, whether they're present, whether they're past, finding those mentors, finding those resources, the people who have been around for a little while, know the ins and outs maybe a little bit more. Those are key resources for you. Attending WEC or the Chapter Business Summit or Chapter Leaders Forum, as you have the opportunity to, I highly recommend it. I've been around the organization for a while, but just in the last 2 or 3 years, I've actually been able to attend these events, and it's eye-opening to see what other chapters are doing, and get that information and actually attend some of these events and get ideas from there. And again, that the global education professional development, that's all on demand on the Global's website, is another really great resource.
I love it. And we are only a few months out from WEC, which is going to be in Minneapolis this summer. So I hope to see a lot of these awesome education leaders watching this video right now at Chapter Business Summit or the WEC. Chapter Business Summit will be in the fall. So like Jamie said, an incredible opportunity if you can get there with the support of your chapter. But definitely the WEC is an incredible connection opportunity. And I don't know if everybody on the call, will you guys all be at WEC?
Hopefully.
Okay, so look for us and ask us any questions about education if you find us. But Judy Webster, I want to kind of close with you. What does the chapter leader around education need to do? How are they going to succeed? Button it up for us.
Hit the ground running. Absolutely. You know, this is a great time in your career to try anything that you want to try. If you fail, it's not really a failure. It's just an opportunity to learn and go forward. You're not going to get fired. You're a volunteer. And this is a perfect time to try new things that you'd like to try. Tap into all of your resources, including having that relationship and working with your predecessor to understand your position. As it changes, you may want to tap into that person. Understand your responsibilities and the dynamics of the committee you're working with. Whether you hold regular committee meetings in person or by phone, know how to communicate with your volunteers. Delegate to them so that they can blossom into the leader that you are. And remember to ask. Everyone who is a volunteer was asked at some point, and that's how you're going to build your committees and the responsibilities needed. And then have fun. If you aren't having fun or you feel really uptight about your position, talk to your chapter leaders, decide whether the position, maybe it's just not the right role for you. And that's okay to find out that it isn't and move into something else. But most of all, have fun and enjoy what you're doing because it is so rewarding for the chapter's success. Now let's hear from both our panelists, Stacy and Jamie. I'd like to know what's the one piece of advice that you would give a volunteer chapter leader in the education department?
Ooh.
Jamie, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think my biggest lesson learned over my few years here with the education is that make sure that your team is prepared as possible. They can only carry out the vision and what you guys want to do as a group if they have all the resources that they need. So share this video with them, tell them where to find things on the website, if you need to create a binder, whatever it may be, the rosters, give them all the access that they need in order to actually execute their jobs the way that they want to. And then secondly, just make sure that you're communicating. If your organization doesn't know what you're doing, then nobody's going to show up. And one of the best practices that we did is that we created an education update form and gave it to our board members every time. They're our best advocates. So those are, my advice.
Thank you, Jamie.
Great. And for me, I think the biggest thing that I learned this year was volunteers. Last year, as in my first year as VP of Education, we didn't have a lot of volunteers under us, and so myself and the two directors took on a lot of things that we really didn't need to take on. And this year, we have so many more volunteers. We were able to divide up the tasks and really go after it, and it wasn't overbearing and it wasn't overpowering. So like Judy said, it's all about the volunteers, and don't be afraid to ask, because like I was asked and everybody on the board was asked by somebody else, hey, do you want to get involved? Most people will, and if they don't, then it's not their right time, and that's okay. Don't be hurt if they say no. They'll say yes eventually, because it'll be their time sometime.
It's great. Well said, ladies. And I think, Judy, I'll have you close us out. But I think if I could add anything to that is just you're exactly right. Listen to our members. Like we said at the top, we are a membership-based organization, and hearing our people and seeing our people and listening to our people is how we will create success in each chapter. And then last but not least, we have got to have some fun. This is a fun group of people, and education can be amazing and fun because it is the lifeblood of really membership ROI. People want to learn and people want to be inspired and engaged. So keep rocking education. I'm so honored to have been a part of this panel. Judy, I'll let you close us out. How about that?
Okie doke. First of all, we want to say thank you, of course, to you, Judy Holler, for being our moderator for this session, to Jamie Flemington of the Indiana chapter and Stacey Cisco of the Rocky Mountain chapter, and most of all, we want to thank you, our chapter leaders, for committing to your leadership role and for giving up your time and talent to your chapter, to MPI. Thank you for tuning in, and please let us know if there's anything that we can additionally assist you with.
Thank you very much. Thanks, panelists and MPI leaders. We'll catch you on the flip side. See you at WEC. Bye, guys.